Yes, I'm just making sure that I turn the recording on so we can capture this night's teaching and discussion. So that is good to go. We have a few folks online tonight, so it's great to have you, Lama. Just to give you a refresher as to what we've been reading. We've been reading Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche's Excellent at the beginning, and the last few topics, we talked a little bit about the practice of Tonglen. That was in the last chapter, as well as the importance of training, of mind training practice, and then also antidotes to compassion and loving as antidotes to anger and jealousy. So that's a couple of the topics that we discussed. And I think we're coming up on a very short chapter on the refuge vow, as well as the four immeasurables is what's ahead of us.
Right, those are all wonderful topics. Thank you for clarifying kind of where you've been and where you're going. So we could talk a little bit about Tonglen. We could talk a little bit about some of these other topics that are coming up in preparation.
I'm interested in the Tonglen. I'd like to know more about that.
All right, well, let's start there. And what I do is just begin by doing a short refuge prayer and cultivating bodhicitta, which is always a good way to start. Talk a little bit about refuge maybe too, because refuge is a very important part of that's where you really become a Buddhist. That is the first coming on the path of Buddhism. So I'm going to just chant or do it in English 3 times, the refuge and the raising of bodhicitta, the cultivation of loving kindness and compassion for the benefit of all beings. So, as we go through these teachings, in your heart, we have the twofold benefit for ourselves, but we also want to do the practice for the benefit of all suffering beings. Everyone is the same in that regard. We want to be happy and we don't want to suffer, but we're not real good at discriminating those things that cause suffering and those things that create actually happiness for ourselves. And it's a pretty simple equation, wrongdoing leads to suffering and cultivating virtue leads to happiness. But we begin with the refuge prayer. Until I reach enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and the Noble Sangha. And through the merit of accomplishing the 6 perfections, may I achieve awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Until I reach enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and the Noble Sangha. Through the merit of accomplishing the 6 perfections, may I achieve awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Until I reach enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and the Noble Sangha. Through the merit of accomplishing the 6 perfections, may I achieve awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. So we may have time actually to talk about the 6 perfections as well, which is the path of the Bodhisattvas. That's how they cultivate virtue and ultimately attain Buddhahood by the cultivating that virtue. So Tonglen is the method for cultivating compassion. So the 2 things that we call them the 2 wings of the bird that lead us to enlightenment are wisdom, understanding the nature of reality, and compassion. We have to develop both of those to attain the goal of Buddhahood. So the Bodhisattva Sutra says, give yourself to others. And it contains stories of how bodhisattvas, Buddhists or Buddhism training, gave everything, to benefit others. But, we're not being asked to give blindly. We give out of the kindness of an open and loving heart to the best of our ability and to our whatever capacity we have to do so. But to get to the highest level of giving, we must first learn how to give. And like we talked about in discussions of, I said the 6 perfections, they are also called the paramitas, and generosity is the first of the 6 paramitas, and we will talk about that somewhere along the way. I don't know if it'll be tonight or not, but we make a habit of letting go and detaching ourselves from our self-clinging, which is the source of all of our suffering. The main practice for developing this letting go is called Tonglen, or sending and receiving. Tonglen is an ancient form of meditation that focuses on compassion and connecting with it, developing it, and learning how to apply it in everyday life. Sometimes it is called the exchanging self for other, and the practice of Tonglen is very simple. We imagine that as we are exhaling, we are sharing happiness, love, health, and compassion and their causes with everyone. And as we inhale, we are relieving others of the darkness of suffering and its causes in all its myriad forms. So while its roots are Buddhist, in recent years, Tonglen meditation has found receptive audiences, around the world, from spiritual to therapeutic to secular. And its popularity is a bit surprising, actually, given how different it is from our usual focus on our me-first society. And as it turns out, the most powerful ways to be kind to yourself and to create the causes of happiness in the future are by developing strong intentions and motivations to help others. And people from all walks of life have found it beneficial in their lives. So again, the word Tonglen is a Tibetan term that translates as sending and taking. And the practice belongs to a body of wisdom called Lojong in Tibetan. Lo means mind and Jong means training. So the mind training is considered one of the most important teachings in Buddhism, and Tonglen is a special application of the mind training practice. It is a skillful means to cultivate bodhicitta and learn how to be less self-centered and selfish. And our meditation trains the mind to be more loving and compassionate. The good news is we are trainable. We can change our mind. That's about the only thing we can change. We can't change the external world, but we can change our reactions or responses to it. So bodhicitta is the aspiration to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings, and includes the actions by which that enlightenment is achieved. So, however, in addition to an intellectual understanding of bodhicitta from the teachings of the Buddha, it is important to cultivate the experience of bodhicitta from the teachings. The following exercises that we'll do as an example will give birth to bodhicitta, also called the mind of enlightenment. So briefly, as a meditation overview, and we may just practice a little bit too, now that you brought up the Tonglen study that you're doing. Tonglen practice begins with breath awareness and continues with the wish to establish all beings in happiness and free them from suffering. It's easy to say, not always easy to do. You imagine that when you exhale, you share the light of happiness, health, and well-being and their causes, which is good works, which is loving kindness and compassion. That's the cause of our happiness. And as you inhale, you breathe in the discomfort, unhappiness, pain, distress, and their causes, which I mentioned before is wrongdoing. It's ill will. It's thinking of yourself first and at whatever cost to the other may be a consequence. So on the out breath, soothing rays of light like moonbeams fill the world with their benevolent healing power. And when breathing in, we can imagine dark, smoky light cloud representing the sufferings of sentient beings. So we breathe that in, we transmute it and send it back out as this loving kindness, compassion, and healing power. The darkness is transformed, by your positive intention and the natural goodness of your heart. And then sending out healing, love, compassion, and all that is needed and wanted in the form of brilliant light. And that enters the person, making them feel happy and satisfying all their needs. There are many different versions of this practice, both traditional and modern. And the simplest form is simply connecting your motivation to the breath. And you can do this anytime, anywhere. And it is often practiced in stages. So we kind of go through that. So after setting the mind in meditation, if you're sitting for a time to practice Tonglen meditation, we start with the shamatha or tranquility meditation to begin to settle the mind, make it workable. So, and we choose an object of compassion. It can be a person, it can be an animal, it can be a group. And we breathe in that smoky darkness of that specific distress, imagining the object of our meditation is relieved of all difficulties, whatever they may be. And we breathe out soothing light of compassion. And it touches the object of compassion that we're doing the Tonglen meditation for, bringing them comfort and peace, happiness, well-being, peace of mind. And this is followed by a phase of expanding the visualization to others who are experiencing similar distress, and expanding yet out again to the farthest reaches of the multiverse until all suffering is alleviated and all goodness is shared. So we're only limited by our own imagination, with this Tonglen practice. Tonglen minimizes, and gradually uproots the conflicting emotions of self-clinging and engages us physically, mentally, emotionally, and verbally in developing tolerance, and patience, and compassion, and loving kindness. Our renowned teacher, Khepe Rinpoche, explains that he said that enlightened beings have reached enlightenment by working for the benefit of all sentient beings. And sentient beings, such as ourselves, remain in samsara, or suffering, because they are working only for themselves alone. So by letting go of selfishness, we work to benefit others, rather than working merely to benefit ourselves. This is the altruistic attitude, and this is the source of our future happiness as well. And this is the purpose or the point of Tonglen meditation. Should we do a meditation practice, Tonglen meditation practice? Would you like to do that?
I think that would be great. You could lead us through it.
Okay, yeah, well, I can do that. So sit comfortably. The Buddha's first instruction on meditation is to sit comfortably. And we begin, as I mentioned, with shamatha meditation, maintaining your focus on the breath. So as you breathe in, be present, be aware that you are breathing in. And as you breathe out, be aware that you're breathing out. Be aware of any distracting thoughts and emotions as they arise. Let go of them, return to the breath. The breath is going to be the anchor. Minds are very facile, they can think of anything, and our minds are, we say the monkey mind because it is jumping from one thing to another. But it is through shamatha that we make it stable, we make it workable. By attending to the breath, we turn us back to the breath in shamatha. So we're linking, our intention to the breath. So on the exhale, you're breathing out the light, basic goodness. And with that, you alleviate pain and suffering by sending out loving kindness and compassion. You're breathing in the smoky darkness of unhappiness and suffering, and in all its myriad forms into your heart, where it is transformed into light, and you send it back out. For example, not too long ago, I was flying recently, and there was a mother and her young child in the aisle across from me. And we were about to take off, and the child was frightened, anxious, crying. And the mother was trying her best to calm the child without much success, and was becoming frustrated and irritated herself with the situation. So with this, I began doing Tonglen meditation, inhaling the fear and panic and anxiety that the child was feeling, and the irritation the mother was feeling, and breathing out calm, serenity, tranquility to both of them. The child almost immediately began to calm down, and consequently so did the mother. I can't say it always works that way, but that is certainly that seemed to bring peace and ease to both mother and child. So I have done this on numerous occasions with good results, and my method for that is what we will do now. We begin by connecting with the breath, as I mentioned. We take a breath in. Imagine you are breathing in. Well, first we should say that imagine, and you can start with yourself. Imagine yourself seated in front of you, and see yourself there, and you are seated where you are, and with loving eyes of compassion, loving kindness, look at that person in front of you, and take a breath in, and imagine you are breathing in any fear, distress, anxiety, irritation, or frustration from that person, which is you, that you may be experiencing, or anything else. If it's a pain that you have, or if it's any other anxiety, or whether it be physical, mental, emotional, you know what needs attention. So do this 3, 6, 9 times. You're taking the breath in, imagining you are breathing in fear, distress, anxiety, pain, irritation, frustration. Feel that you actually are relieving the suffering of yourself seated in front of you, and the distress. And then breathe out, soothing, gentle, light, that is reassuring and comforting to you. And that you feel safe and loved and cared for. And any pain is being addressed and is reduced. And you feel lighthearted and at ease. Extend the meditation to others who are feeling similarly, if they're scared or fearful, agitated. The world we live in right now is really in a difficult situation. So we want to, not only for ourselves, but for all people, all beings who are scared and fearful and agitated. Everyone's looking for peace of mind. So breathing in their distress, breathing out happiness and peace of mind, and imagining their distress is resolved. Expand this goodwill and imagine it reaching to the far limits of space, only limited by the scope of our imagination. Allow your heart and natural goodness to shine unreservedly and touch the world with its blessing of love and compassion and wisdom. Tonglen's, so that is a very brief use of the Tonglen meditation. And as I say, there are various, we could spend this entire hour doing a Tonglen meditation. But I just wanted to give you a little feel for how you might do it for yourself or for someone else that you place on that seat in front of you. And then you amplify that to all beings in your, whether they be friends or people that are more neutral, or people that you may have some karma with, who have done you some wrong. And you are also extending that kindness and compassion to them as well. Sometimes that's a little more difficult. We hold on to these grudges and these bad feelings, but it is important to have the idea of all beings, that equanimity, that we want to bring this to all beings. So Tonglen is not just for when you're sitting in meditation, as I was mentioning. It can be done as part of your life, wherever you go and whatever you are doing. You can offer any activity for the benefit of others, work, at home, eating, etc. When you walk, review these thoughts in your mind. May all beings experience happiness. May I take upon myself the suffering of all beings. When you inhale, think, may I take on others' sufferings. And when you exhale, think, may I give others comfort and happiness. This becomes a natural expression of the mind of enlightenment. And you can practice this with every breath you take, with every step you take. And this attitude takes time to develop as it goes against our old habits, as we were saying, and tendencies to think only of ourselves, our happiness. This is the training of a bodhisattva. And it is an important training for us to cultivate the virtues of compassion, loving kindness. And when training as beginners, we still have disturbing thoughts, and our practice will help us to learn how to handle them, how we can practice this. So first, we must apply mindfulness. For example, the moment we become aware that we are experiencing anger, for example, or another conflicting emotion, we can think, may my experience of this anger be transformed to benefit all beings, and may all beings be free of that disturbing emotion. So we may have experienced anger, frustration, irritation, and the emotion itself is not positive, but the way you've handled it is positive. And this helps to foster the positive feelings and to think of the welfare of other sentient beings. So we can practice everywhere when you're doing anything, taking a shower, eating, dressing, or any activity. You think, I dedicate the merit of my activity for the benefit of all beings. Transform sleep into the practice of virtue. If you go to sleep thinking, and you can practice dream yoga, or recall and transform our dreams and practice lucid dreaming. That's another topic we'll get to along the way, but remember to do this before you go to bed or go to sleep. Even when you wake up during the night, should you wake up and then return to sleep, think that I will practice for the benefit of all beings, even in my sleep. And in fact, you can.
In the shrine room, if we can be present in the moment and think of others, we're practicing. If we enjoy a meal and we think of sharing it with the joy with others, that is practice. And in this way, every activity of life can become the practice of bodhicitta. Getting a message here about my audio. Hear me all right?
Yeah, it dropped out for a few seconds there, but then it came back in, Lama.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Saw your thumbs up, but I'm not hearing you. So let me see what the problem is here. I need to. So let me try to fix this.
Okay, I can't hear you now. You're muted. Okay, can you hear us now?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can't hear you yet. No, this is not good.
Do you want to rejoin?
Can you hear me?
I can
Go
hear
ahead.
you.
You can hear me still? Yes.
Yes.
Say something, Michael, Mike.
I can hear you just fine right
I'm
now.
not hearing it. I don't know what went wrong. Still nothing?
Nope. You can't hear me now? Nothing?
Speaker levels are all good. Yeah. Yes, there is a test. And I tested it and it's not coming through.
Ah,
Say
okay.
again? No, not happening. Wait. Let's see, maybe I can switch to something different. And I can't hear you if you're giving me instruction. Let me look
Yeah.
at the chat. I'll see if I can figure this out. Maybe rejoin the meeting. Okay, I'm going to exit and come back and see if that makes a difference.
Okay.
Hold on. You may speak about speak
Okay.
among yourselves. Be right.
Sorry, everyone. Technical difficulties this evening. Sometimes these Zoom sessions go without any issues, and then once every few months we have some trouble. If anyone has any questions about Tonglen, you can put them in the chat as well. How about now, Lama? Can you hear me?
I still can't hear you, Michael. I see you moving your lips, but
Okay.
and I don't understand it. It was working fine just a minute ago, but this is not my strong suit. Let me try a different computer. I may even try my phone.
Recording in progress.
Can you hear me?
Yes. You want to unmute your phone there, Lama?
How is it now?
Perfect. Can you hear us now?
I can, yes.
All right, great.
All right, that was interesting. Okay. So you can, I'm still muted on the screen, but I'm not muted on my phone, and you can hear fine. There doesn't seem to be any feedback. Is it okay now?
No, it's perfect. Sounds good.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. So let's see where we left off here. So are there any questions about anything I mentioned so far? We've been talking about Tonglen, and hopefully you're getting a better feel for this practice. It is unusual to think about taking the pain and suffering of oneself onto your own, into yourself, and transmuting it, and then sending out all of the loving kindness and qualities to benefit others. But that is what we're talking about.
I think in understanding the pain of others, you more understand your own pain.
Well, that's for sure. And we are all more alike than we are different. We are all experiencing the sufferings of birth, old age, sickness, and ultimately death. And that is true for all of us. Anyone else have anything else they'd like to mention? And then we were also talking about refuge.
I have a question, or more of a little bit of a comment or a little bit of a question, especially for new folks. When we were reading earlier this evening, we were reading the question and answer in Kenshin Threngu Rinpoche's book on the medicine Buddha practice.
Yes.
And someone did ask about, how does one choose the practice that you should be, because this person was practicing Tonglen and medicine Buddha practice, and they didn't know which should be their primary practice. As you're beginning, you hear about so many different practices, from Chinrezi, meditation, Tonglen, and how do we work? Is it just the one we're most attracted to?
Well, in the beginning, we have to just start with basic meditation. So all Buddhist schools emphasize, meditation, and we have to begin with taming our mind. And then from there, yes, there are, as you say, many different practices, and that's where the teacher comes into to play here, that to help assess the needs of the student based on their karmic causes and conditions, and the practices that may behoove them and benefit them. But it begins with shamatha, or tranquility meditation. We can't overlook the basics and vipassana, which is insight meditation. We have to start there before we can do any other meditation, really. So as I was mentioning, all Buddhist schools emphasize meditation, particularly tranquility meditation, or shamatha, shinei in Tibetan, and insight meditation, or vipassana, or latong in Tibetan. So these sitting meditation practices differ slightly in different schools, but they all have the same goal, which is to tame our mind, so our wisdom mind can shine forth. So as mentioned previously, the Buddha's teaching consists of cultivating virtue, avoiding wrongdoing, and taming our mind. So we start there. We are going to begin we have to begin with the means for taming our mind, meditation. So what we should just talk a little bit about meditation procedure. And it is, of course, important to have the right view about why we are practicing meditation in the first place. So emphasis is placed on the importance of meditation practice, But we can't truly practice without some basic understanding of the nature of the mind and reality. So the Buddhist teachings guide us in how to become familiar with our own basic goodness, called Buddha nature. This is inherent in everyone without exception. And our lives have become so complicated that we can learn to use our meditation practice to develop calmness and tranquility. It will not bring instant results, but if we are consistent and sincere, beneficial changes will gradually develop. So it's important that we have a daily meditation practice. That comes first. And the basic meditation technique is called calm abiding or tranquility meditation. I guess we should probably review that before we go any further. So shamatha in Sanskrit or Shinay in Tibetan, the word for meditation in Tibetan is gom, G-O-M, and it means becoming familiar with. So we're becoming familiar with our own mind. Generally, we're just on automatic pilot. Most of us have not taken the time to look inward and make friends with our mind. We say my mind, but what does that mean? That is the meaning of meditation, is the direct experience, the clear awareness of our mind, and to rest naturally in that state without distraction from our mental machinations. So we devote time each day to meditation practice. So just briefly, it's important that you choose a place where you will not be disturbed in your practice. The place should be quiet and comfortable. You create a nice, clean, safe, sacred place for yourself. Some people may like to add a flower, an incense, a picture of their teacher. If you're doing medicine Buddha, a picture of medicine Buddha, so you can see what he's wearing, and all the different things to do that visualization. So, there is, we'll talk more about the three yanas in the teachings of the Buddha, which were basically the Four Noble Truths. So the first turning of the wheel of Dharma, and the second wheel of turning of the wheel of Dharma had to do with the Mahayana transmissions, and then the Tantrayana or Vajrayana. So each of these practices are distinct and different and kind of build one upon the other, but it begins with our shamatha. And the Buddhist meditations involve following, the proper posture. So just to review, we usually talk about the 7 points of Virochana, which gives the body over time a correct and comfortable sitting posture. Should we review the postures, do you think? Do everyone knows what that is? The 7 postures?
I only thought there was a posture for meditation, so I guess I don't know it.
Well, the posture, these 7 points is the posture for meditation, and so you settle yourself on a comfortable seat, as I was saying, in a safe and quiet place where you'll not be disturbed. You're sitting up straight, not leaning left or right or too far forward or backward. And it can be a small round meditation cushion called a zafu, which you have there at the center, that is commonly used. But you can place a pillow or roll up a blanket. The zafu is the small round cushion that we use for meditation, and the zabuton is the larger cushion that the zafu goes on. It's a little larger square cushion on the floor, but not everyone can sit on the floor. We're getting older, and although for me that this sitting posture, half lotus posture, is the most comfortable position, but if you're sitting in a chair, you can sit towards the edge of the chair with your feet flat on the floor, about shoulder width apart, and then bring your body to an upright position and a feeling of straightness. That is important for the internal winds of the body to have the proper alignment, and is important to really help settle the mind. So if you are on the floor, you can sit on the floor on a cushion with your hips and buttocks. We use the cushion because you want your bottom to be about 4 finger widths, above your knees. So you want to be slightly elevated on the cushion, your bottom on the cushion. And feel as if you're being kind of pulled up by a string, a golden thread from the crown of your head. So that is the first thing, is taking that position. But after taking your seat, you place your legs, if possible, in the half lotus or full lotus position if you're seated on the floor. And, as I was saying, it's not an easy position. And if you're not able to, just a regular cross-legged position is fine. Half lotus position is suitable. The full lotus and half lotus are very stable sitting, postures referred to as the positions of indestructibility, in the sense that, we're being well-grounded, immovable. We're like a mountain. And the back, from the nape of the neck to the small of the back, should be straight. So that's the second one. And the third.
We did have one
Yeah.
question. Can you talk about the meditation, the half lotus position, and maybe the different sitting positions that one can do? when
Yeah,
sitting?
so the full lotus, you have your left foot on your right thigh and your right foot on your left thigh. That is the full lotus. And on the half lotus position, your left leg is crossed in front of you, and the right leg is foot is on the thigh, or tucked in close to the body. And there's what's called the tailor posture, which the left foot is close to the body, right foot can be just extended out. You're still cross-legged, but the feet are not resting on the thighs. Does that make sense? Did you follow that?
Go ahead, Harmony. You can unmute yourself.
Oh, I was just going to say yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, very good. So the third is not often done, but I'd like to mention the third posture of the body is called drawing up. And it is one of the 7 points of Virochana. And while sitting in that cross-legged posture position, adjust the body, the position of the body to bring in and tighten the fold of the cheeks of the buttocks. And, you take a breath in and you exhale it. You hold the breath and close and tighten the anal sphincter as if you were doing a Kegel exercise, and pull up gently on the abdomen and the abdominal organs. Pull up gently and hold, and then very gently, slowly relax everything back to its normal position and breathe naturally. This position contributes to our health as well, and toward maintaining our vitality, our warmth. It reduces the loss of energy, and strengthens and tames the mind. So that is called drawing up. That's the third position. The fourth position is to touch the tip of the thumb. This is what Khenpo Karta Rinpoche talks about, lion's paw. And the tip of the thumb is on each hand. We bring that to the joint of the ring finger, where your wedding ring would be, or where a ring would be. And then close the fingers into a relaxed and gentle fist, and bring both fists palm down onto the knees. So, the finger is in the ring joint, gently close the fingers, and then just put that on the knees. That's called the lion's paw. So keep your back straight still, and your knees on the ground as much as possible. And if this is well established, then you have these positions correct, then you should not have you shouldn't have to exert effort. It's a very natural, relaxed posture, but it may take a little time to become familiar with it. There's a learning curve with everything, and there certainly is with that as well. But this will keep the structure of the bones erect, And if your back is not straight, or if you're having problems bringing your knees down, then you may need to exert a little effort in bringing the knees down closer towards the ground. And that will help keep your back straight, or apply a little pressure with your hands on the knees, and that will also bring your back a little straighter. So be mindful of your posture and make micro adjustments as you sit, as is necessary to maintain straightness. As we proceed in meditation, sometimes you begin to slump a little bit, or you lose your focus, but the meditation posture helps maintain mindfulness. So that is good. And doing a little yoga or stretching, including some breathing exercises. If you've done yoga, a good yoga instructors will always do pranayama, or, prana is breath. So breathing exercises, it helps to exhaust the stale air and brings more energy to the body to help with the stretching, helps with flexibility, stamina, alertness. So remember the importance of breathing. We can go for a while without eating and drinking. We can't go long without breathing. So it is important that, particularly when you begin your sitting practice, to maybe take a couple of good breaths in, and then blow it out your mouth. Take a couple of breaths, and then just again bring your breath back to the breath we were talking about, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose, feeling the cool on the inhale, warm on the exhale. So become aware of our breath. This is going to be the anchor of our meditation. So when you become accustomed to the sitting meditation, your lower back muscles will hold you up straight for prolonged periods without strain and discomfort. And the second method is for the hands to be placed in the lap, and the hands are placed against the abdomen, below the navel, with the palms up, right hand resting in the left, with the thumbs gently touching. The palms can also be placed palm down on the knees. So these are the placement of the hands in meditation. They can be on the knees in lion's paw, or palm down on the knees, or in the mudra of stability in the lap. An experiment, just see which is most comfortable for you, and you can change postures if you wish, but with practice you will see what is most comfortable for you. The fifth posture or position has to do with the eyes and your gaze. So again, no matter what meditation we're doing, these pretty much remain true, that let your eyes be relaxed and slightly opened, half-lidded, unfocused. You're not looking at anything. You're keeping the head and neck straight. So your head's on straight, but your gaze is down at about a 45-degree angle, about forearms length in front of you. And we will also talk about the gaze as a method to overcome hindrances, such as lethargy or agitation when meditating. So usually we start with again, the head is straight, but the eyes are cast down slightly, and your gaze is about 2 feet in front at a 45-degree angle down at an imaginary spot. So we relax the gaze, relax the breathing, let it be natural and uncontrived. The sixth position is to let the tip of your tongue rest behind the teeth against the upper palate. And like the other positions, this one also has an immediate and temporary benefit, as well as long-term benefit. In this case, the immediate benefit is that when you properly rest the tongue in this way, it controls saliva production so that you're not constantly swallowing or disturbed by frequent swallowing, and reduces the coughing that can happen, from swallowing and things. And so in addition, the jaw is relaxed and not clenched. Lips and mouth and teeth are all relaxed and not clenched. Your body's relaxed and at ease. Belly is relaxed. Shoulders are relaxed. So give yourself the suggestion to relax your shoulders, belly, let go of any tension, and relax, relax, relax. The seventh position is to slightly tuck in the chin and straighten the upper cervical vertebrae. So we bring the chin in slightly, and that it keeps the upper cervical vertebrae straight. So this will help better align the head and neck. Often we lead with our chin, and our heads are heavy. I mean, we can create a lot of tension for ourselves. So we want like a pendulum, from the top of your head right through to your sacrum. You can feel the straightness of your spine when you're in the sitting posture like that. So because some of us are not accustomed to these different postures, positions, or because, of the differences in flexibility, our bodies and so forth, some people may have an easier time and some easier time than others. But whatever the difference is, it's important to understand these positions, and we commit to a daily practice of meditation. And correct posture, as we just went through it, helps the mind find peace and strength and control. So it's important that we tame our mind, and part of that taming of our mind is the correct posture. It benefits the physical body by bringing its energies and elements into balance and harmony, creating the conditions for awakening. So it's good that we just spend a little time, I think, in talking about the postures. For those who are not able to sit, in the above position, as we said, you can sit in a chair. So I briefly mentioned, if you sit towards the edge of a chair, so as not to be leaning back or sideways or forward, and the feet are flat on the floor, about shoulder width apart, and the hands are in the same position as we stated previously, either resting on the knees or in the lap. Experiment with your posture. Keep the back straight, stay relaxed, and observe the other points for your meditation practices we talked about. As with most things, I mentioned there's a learning curve, but with practice and attention to the posture details, you will soon be able to sit comfortably for extended periods of time. Any questions about that? So the basic meditation for taming the mind, to begin meditation, you first sit in the positions we described in the 7 points described above for a few minutes. Then take slow, relaxed, natural breaths. On the in breath, imagine the air entering through your nostrils and filling your body all the way down to the level of your navel. And on the out breath, imagining air going out your nostrils, down like a smoky color, down to the level of the floor. And you can just imagine the air coming in and going into your body and out and on the floor. You can just see that wave of breath happening. And after this initial few breaths, you can stop imagining the breath in that way and just be aware of the sensation in the nostrils, being aware of breathing in the warm, the cool air and the warm air out. Breathing the warm air in, breathing the warm air out and the cool air in. And you can have that sense in the nostrils. When breathing out, be aware of the breathing out. And breathe normally, naturally. Don't try to influence the breath. Just let it be natural and at ease. Do not try to make the breath longer or shorter. Just let it be natural and uncontrived. So now we're talking about the actual meditation process. We talked about the sitting and those 7 points of Arochana, but and now these are the basic meditation that we're talking about, how to do the meditation. So again, we begin the meditation by starting with that breath, and then continuing with the slow breaths through the nostrils, being aware of the breath, breathing in, breathing out, breathing normally. Then inevitably thoughts will distract you now and then and take you away from your awareness of the breath. That is the first the thing that you will notice in meditation. It's actually, we say that noticing the distraction is the first benefit you'll experience in meditation, because often we're not aware of the mind's activity. We're just not attentive to it. But when we're focusing on the breath, and we see how distracted we can become, and how the thoughts and feelings and emotions can take us away from our focus on the breath. So the busyness of the mind is something that has been going on all your life. And when you notice that you are involved with a thought, any thought, just recognize it as thinking and go back to the sensation of the breath. There's no judgment about the thoughts, no judgment or blaming yourself if your attention slips. We just continue to be mindful, following the breath. Thoughts will come and go. And we can imagine them like clouds in a spacious sky, or a wave in the vast ocean, seeing the moment of their arising and then just letting them dissolve back into emptiness. And we return again and again to the sensation of breathing, letting the breath anchor our awareness. This gives the mind something to focus instead of entertaining the distracting thoughts, which are endless. One thought leads to another thought, to another thought. You know how it is. We've all had that experience. So the next point is don't follow distracting thoughts. The mind is kept sharp and clear, focused on the breath. So when breathing in, again, you're aware of breathing in. When breathing out, you're aware of breathing out. You can follow the breath out to the end of the exhale and notice any brief pause or gap at the bottom of the exhale before taking the next breath in. You can enjoy that gap of no breath for a moment between breaths. So we're totally aware at that moment. Our minds are not wandering. We're just with the breath. We remain mindful and vigilant in the beginning. We monitor ourselves not to be excessively relaxed or excessively rigid. You're not getting yourself uptight about this. You're relaxed and at ease. You're just observing. This balance of correct effort could be compared, often it's compared to a stringed instrument, like a lute or guitar. If the strings are too loose, there'll be no sound. And if they're not stretched enough, but if they're stretched too tight, it'll break. We just want to be just right, not too loose, not too tight. So it's also important not to have any expectations about meditation or its benefits. And there are many benefits, but our intention here is to tame our mind. So we don't think that you're going to acquire any abilities and powers. Just do the practice without hope and fear and see what happens. Maintain an open and joyful mind and practice with joyful perseverance. So in the practice of meditation, it's important to meditate regularly, every day, even if it's only for a few minutes. Generally, I say we can begin with mindfully taking 21 breaths as our initial step in establishing our daily practice. And if we do this for 21 days consecutively, without missing a day, if you miss a day, you start from the beginning until you can do 21 days. So if we do this for 21 days, we will begin the process of constructing a new lifelong habit of meditation. And it does require diligence, it requires perseverance, but the result is worth it. But at this point, you may not realize that when you're just starting out. And it's easy to find distractions and other things to do instead of doing 21 breaths. It doesn't take long to do 21 breaths, but it begins to set the design for our meditation practice. Any questions about anything so far? I'm not hearing anything. Hopefully I have.
Lama, I've heard two other techniques to add to meditation, and I just wanted some clarification. One is leaving the mouth slightly open
It's relaxed. So yes, you're not really breathing through the mouth, you're breathing through the nose, but the mouth and teeth and lips are relaxed. So yes, that is fine.
Okay, and the other is the having a smile or having a peaceful facial expression during your meditation.
Well, if it's natural, it should be, that's fine. You know, if it's forced, then it's not so good. So you want to be relaxed and at ease, you know, without any kind of influence. But yes, a natural smile brings it. It really it's good for us to do that. But we don't want to impose. We want to be natural, at ease. But you can begin in that way, you know, with a joyful attitude. That is really important, that you take pleasure in your practice, and it's not it's something that is you don't want to do. It is something that you should be attracted to and something that you look forward to doing. And that if you don't do it, you say, oh, you think that, oh, my day is just not right until I do. I know that feeling. So that is just something that we do. Did that answer the question, Mike?
Yes, thank you.
Shamatha, again, just it's a Sanskrit word, and that usually is translated as tranquility. And Shanay, as I mentioned, is the Tibetan word. But meditation is really an important part of this tradition. Shamatha is the form of meditation that the Buddha taught to establish basic tranquility and calmness of the mind, which seems like very few people have these days. And this is essential to progress along the path. Meditation is the process of directly experiencing the clear awareness of your own mind. Also, since each person's mind is different from that of everyone else, each person's meditation is also going to be different. It is always good to have, individual instruction so that when possible with a qualified meditation teacher. So doing this is important, that we have the right instruction on meditation. Some of you may be living, we do these Zoom things. You have the good fortune of being close to the center, and there are people there that you can talk to. That's the thing about Sangha. I mentioned briefly taking refuge, and we take refuge in the three jewels: the Buddha, the Shakyamuni Buddha, who is the fourth Buddha of this fortunate eon. There'll be 1,002 Buddhas, and Shakyamuni is the fourth. But we wish to do this meditation as a prerequisite. This is a prerequisite leading to mindfulness, insight, and wisdom. So we can't achieve those, we can't realize our Buddha nature until we've stabilized our mind. And that affects every experience and how we perceive the world. As one deepens meditative experience, the mind grows calm and patient, relaxed, and at ease. And we're able to see more clearly without the imposition of our habitual patterns. And it doesn't happen without right effort. So as we say, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. And in that way, our happiness is a choice that we make. We can see things, and as the pure realm, which is the Vajrayana view, is that this is a pure realm, and we all have Buddha nature, and that we are actually all Buddhas. Not only are we Buddhas, but everyone is Buddhas, but they don't realize it. But we should treat everyone as if they were so. And I will often use the analogy, in terms of training our mind is very much like training a puppy. And I think it's a good analogy, so I'll bring it up again. If you've had a puppy and you're training them to stay or sit, you say stay, and does the puppy listen? My puppy doesn't. My puppy she'll immediately run off at the slightest distraction. So you sit the puppy down and you go through this training repeatedly. And in training the mind or the puppy, we must start over and over again, just like that. Getting mad at yourself or the puppy does not help. It is not a matter of force or coercion. You just begin again and tame the mind with patience and perseverance. And the good news is both the puppy and our mind are trainable. So, but we have to start, and no one can do it for us. So it's true that our minds are very powerful. And as stated earlier, the Buddhist teaching can be summarized, in cultivating excellent virtue, in avoiding doing harm to ourselves or others, and totally taming our mind. That means to rest one-pointedly, absorbed in our meditation without distraction. That is really the insight meditation, vipassana. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. So it is with this understanding that we engage in meditation to tame the monkey mind. And meditation is mind training. And the following instructions on shamatha requires those practices described when either our stubborn mind or we have to use these same techniques, whether we're training our mind or our distracted puppy. Cultivating a regular practice, requires understanding and valuing meditation and why meditation is important. And once we firmly establish the important place it must have in our life, our progress is assured. So you must have that understanding that it is important and that you make it a part of your life. There's a story, that, sometimes beginning students' meditation on following the breath can seem uninteresting or boring. But there's an old story about this. There's a student that once complained to his teacher while sitting on the bank of the river with him that following the breath was boring. And the master grabbed the student and held his head underwater in the river. And when the student was released, he came up gasping for a breath of air. And the master asked him if he thought he found the breath boring. And although it's a bit harsh, the student will not soon forget that lesson. And young or old, the length of our life is unknown to each of us, and how we spend our time is one of the few real choices that we can make. So achieving peace of mind is essential. And we all want to be happy and we can have peace of mind, and we can achieve this with proper motivation, discipline, and perseverance in our practice. So we have gone over the 7 points posture for shamatha meditation. I don't think I mentioned the position for the eyes. I said that there are 3 different positions that we can use for the eyes in our meditation. I said that the eyes are unfocused and not really looking at anything. And the first position is just gazing downward slightly. The second position is gazing straight ahead. So instead of lowering the eyes at a 45-degree angle, we can look straight ahead. And the third, slightly raising the gaze upward slightly. You're still not looking at anything. The eyes are unfocused, and you're gazing about 2 feet in front. And alternate between all 3 of these. And you can interchange them and see how they feel. Looking down kind of slows the mental process. It kind of keeps, if our minds are overexcited, it kind of slows it down a little bit. And if we're tired or torpor sets in, we raise the gaze, looking straight ahead, or just at that doesn't even have to be a 45-degree angle, but just a slightly above level. And this will bring the energy up and will help with lethargy or torpor. So we can use the eyes in that way. If we fall into either a stupor, we raise the gaze, or if our minds are overly excited, we can lower the gaze, and that will affect our experience in that way. So alternate between them naturally. So we mentioned the importance of establishing a daily practice. And we talked a little bit about, having a place to do that practice. You select Select a location for your practice. And as I mentioned, like in real estate, the three most important things to consider in setting up your meditation space are location, location, location. And it can be a corner in your bedroom or in another quiet spot in your home that is clean and quiet and gives you that natural calm feeling. That will work. But it's important to have a place that you can retire to and feel safe and it's quiet. You may have to try a couple of spots before finding the right one. And you need enough room again for your meditation cushion or a chair, or maybe a little table or for your text or a flower, incense, or image that evokes faith and devotion. Create the environment that makes you happy. A space that makes you happy is good feng shui. You know, it supports the practice of meditation. And I'm often asked about, you know, what is the best time to meditate? Well, the best time to meditate is when you meditate, whether, you know, anytime, day or night. You know, your daily practice must fit your routines and lifestyle. In the beginning, we have to create the habit of sitting. And it is said that if you can be regular and consistent, as I mentioned, for 21 days, you can create a new and lasting habit. And you begin by setting for just 21 breaths, but you're not in a rush for those 21 breaths. Just let it be natural, relaxed, and at ease, and begin your practice with just counting the out breath. So you're breathing in, breathing out 1, breathing in, breathing out 2, like that for 21 consecutive breaths. So it is better when you're starting a practice. Some of you are seasoned practitioners, you've been meditating for a while, but for those of you who may just be starting and don't have a regular practice, it is better to sit, you know, for short periods of time more frequently. Later, you can extend your sitting time or add another session. But generally, if you do much longer, you're just practicing being distracted more than being grounded and present. So when we were talking about, you know, what kind of meditation practice should we do with all the myriad things, begin with this shamatha, tranquility meditation. So when you, if it's in the morning, you know, after opening your shrine and making an offering by lighting a candle or offering a flower or burning incense, like I said, you can take your seat as described with the 7 points and cultivate the mind of enlightenment. We started this session by doing the refuge prayer, and that is a way that we take refuge in the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha, and we cultivate the bodhisattva attitude, bodhicitta, loving kindness and compassion, and the wish to attain enlightenment for yourself, but also for the benefit of all suffering beings. Again, in Buddhism, we call the mind of enlightenment bodhicitta, and bodhicitta is the wish to attain enlightenment, motivated by great compassion for all sentient beings. This is accompanied by the falling away of the attachment to the illusion of this inherently existing self. So we take a couple of deep breaths and relax, breathing in through the nostrils. We talked about taking a few cleansing breaths. So when breathing in, be aware of the sensations of breathing in. When breathing out, ride the natural wave of the breath to the end before taking the next breath. Notice any pause at the top of the inhale and the bottom of the exhale. Be the breath. Remember to be gentle with yourself. Gently, with awareness, continue to ride the wave of your breath. Keep a light heart and the feeling of gratitude for the freedom to practice. We are so fortunate. And enjoy your meditation time. So the Buddha taught 6 different aspects to shamatha meditation. And these points are to have the correct posture, to hold the mind on the breath, to cut the stream of thoughts and mental chatter, to eliminate dullness and agitation, and don't keep the mind too tight or too loose, and to let the mind be natural, at natural ease, and maintain awareness of the breath. So those 6 is basically summarizing shamatha. Any question about shamatha? Well, we're rapidly coming to the end of our time together, so I do want to mention Vipassana meditation or insight meditation. These are the two types of meditation that we primarily talk about. We also have Mahamudra meditation. You know, we are the Kagyu lineage. You know, you've probably done the Mahamudra lineage prayer, where we really have an opportunity to give thanks and to be grateful and to our lineage masters who realize the truth of the Mahamudra, which is the quintessential, the crown jewel of the Karma Kagyu meditation. But we have to perfect our shamatha and vipassana meditation before we can actually do the Mahamudra. And there are three types of Mahamudra. There's the ground Mahamudra, which is understanding the nature of reality and our Buddha nature. There's the path of which requires the meditation and other kind of preliminary practices like Nundro and other things. And then there's the culmination or the fruition, which is Buddhahood. So this is the path that takes us to Buddhahood. So in our meditation practice, we work with our body, speech, and mind. But of these three, the mind is most important. This attention to the mind is called mindfulness, you know, and it is awareness of this present moment, what is happening right now. Through these practices, we are training our mind to live in the ever-present now. With a relaxed mind and at ease, we can become aware of this precious moment. And consequently, with this awareness, we can notice our mind, the clarity of our mind, or the wandering and distracted mind, but we remain in the present. This is working with our inner puppy. And again, we are trainable. There are two ways through which we can gain freedom from our habitual mental and emotional patterns, and both involve meditation. We've talked about this through tranquility and meditation, shamatha. We gain more mental stability and calmness that leads to fewer thoughts and less agitation. And the mind becomes workable, stable, unmoving. And we are developing our mental muscle, you know, to sit undistractedly. However, this does not uproot the prime cause of suffering, the identification with this ego image of ourself. So we now begin the second process of meditation, which entails a systematic analysis to deconstruct this manufactured self, this I, to which we are so attached. And the two types of meditation work together. We have spoken of the importance of tranquility meditation as an indispensable preliminary to our progress on the path. And now we briefly are going to turn our attention to the second method to free us from the mental obscurations that cloud the mind and obstruct our seeing the mind's true nature. It is called insight meditation, or in Sanskrit, it's called Vipassana, and in Tibetan, Latang. So once we have sufficiently developed a strong tranquility meditation and have quieted the mind and made it workable, we can now use it for insight meditation. With the mind stable, we can say stay, and our mind is trained and capable of doing so. We have now established a mind at ease when resting or engaged, and we can now rest in the natural mind, undisturbed by the workings of the previous untamed mind. So we have uprooted the causes of our suffering, the clinging and attachment to a contrived self with which we have become so identified. And at the conclusion of the practice, we dedicate the merit with a brief prayer, offering the virtue of our practice for the benefit of all beings. And this would conclude your practice. This is the foundation upon which all other practices can be built. It's like building a house. We must first build a strong foundation upon which our house can stand. And there's, we could talk about walking meditation. That is another aspect for cultivating our awareness. But I think we have come to the end of our time. So are there any other questions or comments? I hope this has been helpful in some way to you.
Yes, this was very good. Thank you, Lama.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lama.
So we will make our dedication. Those who have not given birth to precious bodhicitta, may they give birth. Those who have given birth, may their bodhicitta not lessen, but increase further and further. May they not be separated from bodhicitta, but be completely devoted to enlightened action. May they be accepted by the Buddhas, and may they abandon evil actions. May the Bodhisattva's good wishes for the benefiting beings be fulfilled, and may the intentions of the protectors prosper among sentient beings. May all be auspicious for us. I thank you all very much for your attention. And now, Mike, is there any other things that need to be said?
Just that we will have a regular practice this Saturday. We will have silent sitting meditation here at the center from 9 to 10 a.m. Short book study or discussion from 10 to 10:30, followed by Chenrezig and Amitabha practice at 10:30 till about 11:30. And everyone is always welcome to attend here at the center if you can make it.
Yes, doing these practices are really examples also of shamatha and vipassana practice. So when doing, you've been doing medicine Buddha, you do Chenrezig. When we do the Chenrezig practice and we're cultivating the generation stage, visualizing with one pointed concentration the Chenrezig and the pure realm, that is shamatha. And when we are doing the recitation and resting at the end of our recitation of the mantra, that is latong or vipassana, when we're resting the mind in its natural way. And we've we've left our cognitive mind behind, and we're just resting in the pure state of pure awareness. That is vipassana. So these are methods, skillful means to cultivate virtue. And again, the Vajrayana, and we'll talk maybe more next time about the three yanas, and that encompasses the Buddha's teaching in three different. He gave three major teachings, beginning at Deer Park with his 5 students that he was with before. He elucidated the Four Noble Truths. And then at Vulture Peak, the discourse with all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and all those in attendance on the Mahayana aspects of Buddha nature. And then he continued that in the teaching in Vasali and very other places, the third turning of the wheel of Vajrayana, and more on bodhicitta and the continuation of the Mahayana. So knowing those teachings is important. When you ask, what teaching should I do? They follow a particular pattern, or that is a graduated path. Okay, I wish you all a good night, and I hope to see you next month.
Thank you, Lama.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.